Okay, today we are doing rear brake pads on a Mercedes ML350 W163 chassis. This is a 2005. Oh my god, how many planes are going to fly over today? There's a little ultralight been buzzing up there for like an hour with floats on it. Anyway, I would be doing the rotors as well, but I do not have rear rotors. I don't have a set with me. I do have the set of pads, and the pads are gone on this. I hadn't ordered the rotors. I've just been too busy. Anyway, for everyone that's going to say you should be replacing your rotors, yeah, I know. But if you're just replacing your pads, this is how you do it. Anyway, first thing I'm going to do is I've already loosened them, so you don't have to watch the wiggling and jiggling. The brake wear sensor unplugged from the top. Oh, and this bottom part, the actual sensor, the little pin in there. When the brake pads wear down, it touches that pin, grounds them, and then turns on that light on your dashboard. So, where am I? 14 millimeter. Oh crap! I don't have one with me. Of course I don't. Why would I? Back in a second. This is a very, very, very simple process. If you've never done brake pads before, doing the first ones on a Mercedes is like beautiful, and then you're going to hate doing every other brake pad in your life because they're all crap. These are so easy, it's beautiful. Anyway, I'll be back in a second once I get a 14 millimeter socket. Okay, got a 14. We're undoing, just to do the brake pads, we're doing the rotors. You have to remove the whole caliper and caliper carrier assembly. We're just doing pads, so I only have to remove the caliper. That's two 14 millimeter pins, one here and one down here. They're not on very tight. I'm actually going to use the torque wrench to take them off. You should never use a torque wrench in reverse, but these are very, very loose bolts. I think they're 25 foot-pounds, as it makes me look like a fool, but they do have Loctite on them from the factory. Let's put this down and remove them. Once they're loose, they just unscrew all the way. Top and bottom are exactly the same. Or did these last time put anti-seize on these? Good God. You don't use anti-seize on brake bolts. You use Loctite so that vibration doesn't make them come loose. Same as you never use anti-seize on lug nuts, you do not use anti-seize on brake bolts. Blue Loctite will work just like anti-seize. You can see the silver on there. These are the same brake pads as when I got the car 65,000 kilometers ago. They were all good. Fronts and rears were all good on this when I got it. And these rotors are actually really, really good. They're not, no vibrations or anything like that, and the pad wear surface is good, so I'm just replacing them. And I'm replacing them with ceramic. I always use ceramic. They don't make any dust. They don't destroy your rotors as quick. I like Centric C-Tex, or Centric, what are they called? I don't know, the company is Centric. They're like 25 bucks a set for pads, and I've never had a problem with them. They always work really well. Last like 90,000 kilometers on front wheels. Probably on the rear they'll last about 100. Anyway, so those two bolts are out. I should be able to just pop the caliper out. It's a little bit of a lift, but that's no big deal. You see the caliper, here's the inner. Look at how worn those were. That's why I did this without having a rotor, because I saw how worn they were. They just had to go. The front pad is held on by this metal clip, which you kind of want to pry out and up at the same time. Again, it's Mercedes. These are not difficult. They just pop out. Now, one thing to note on these when you're doing left and right, because you're going to be doing both sides, is that, let me show you in 2 seconds once I get this pad off. Come out of there. Oh, this one's stuck. There we go. This has probably been on there for 10 years. Okay. Ow. Spring on finger. Put this caliper up here. You're going to note on the pad that there's one side that has a notch and one side that is flat. And in your box, when you get the new pads, you are going to find that these are not swappable side to side. The notches on both of them, the front, let me pull the rear. Oh, I might not be able to get the inner off without compressing the piston. Oh yeah, I can. Anyway, the inner one is held on with those little springs that go inside the piston. And this is like at the end of its travel, so it's a little hard to get out. I'll put this down and pop that out. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. When you match the pads together, the two with the slot have to go on the same side. Doesn't matter if they're up or down, but the two with the slot have to be on the same side, and the two flat ones have to be on the same side. That's because when you put them back on, you slip the slot in and then slide the other end in. You can't slide into the slot. So if you have one matched, one from the other side and one from this side, you have a slot on both sides, a groove like this on both sides, and you won't get them in. So you have to make sure that you've matched them up so that when they're together, they're two slots. So put the two pads, friction surface, and make sure you've got the two with the slots. Need to clean up the slide. And I'm going to retract the piston bore. Where am I going to put this camera so you can see this? Down here. I have always used a C-clamp. In auto shop in high school many years ago we used C-clamps. I have never found a reason to buy an actual tool that does this, because this works on every vehicle. It's just an old crappy C-clamp. And you merely tighten the clamp and push the piston back into its bore. Hopefully I'm still on camera. Don't push against the rubber, don't clamp the rubber. Push only on the metal piston in the middle. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, see now the piston's pushed back in, and I'm going to gently, with a flathead screwdriver, just go around here. Not pushing, this is rubber. You're just going to gently coax the rubber back so it folds back down. See how it's accordioned around up here? You're going to do that around there. Just keep gently pushing it around and it will collapse itself back down. It's just been out for a while and it needs to refine its shape. Look at the crappy road goddamn stuff. Oh my god. They use that brine on the roads here in Canada now, and it just eats things. This until I got it, this vehicle was never winter driven. So anyway, now I'm going to pull out the pins and grease them, and they merely, same side, both sides are the exact same. push from one side. Look at that old anti-seize on there. Push it all the way through. It'll pop through the rubber. I need two hands to do this. Anyway, I'm going to do the same thing with this side. Push, they'll pop through the rubber. I'm going to wipe them off, clean them off. If you need to, sand them down with some very, very fine grit sandpaper if there's rust on them. Usually there's not. These boots even rarely get wrecked. It's almost impossible to wreck. This stuff is so durable. That's why I love these W163 chassis. I know they have slight electrical problems here and there, but damn, the build quality on these things, the suspension, the drivetrain, it's all like a tank. It's beautiful stuff. Anyway, I'm going to pull these two pins out and clean them. Just pull them out this side and I'll show you in two sides. You know what? I'm just going to keep the damn camera going. Screw it. Let's just keep going. Pin. This one's a little sticky. That one does not want to come out that way, so pull it out this way. Okay, pin. Again, I'm just going to clean them off. Just wiping them down. Nothing special. Copper grease or whatever brake grease you're using. I use copper grease inside the rubber boot. Doesn't have to be a ton. Take your cleaned off pin. You can do it from either direction. I'll do it from this direction because it's facing the camera. Pop the rubber over the lip. This is the hardest part of the entire brake job. Pop the rubber over the lip. And then just push it straight through. You'll hear the pop. When the lip catches on the other side, push it back and it will pop again. And those brake sliders pins are good to go. I want to make sure this copper grease doesn't get on everything else. Oops. Pin in the hole, pop through, then pop back. See if I can turn that toward you. Like I said, getting it over that little lip is like, there we go. And then gently push it straight through the other side. It will pop over the lip on the other side, and when you push it back, it will now pop on this side. Where is that? Are you happy? We're almost done. Okay, copper grease again on very lightly on the slide where the pads are going to slide. Don't touch the rotor with it. Wiggly. Put this down. Hopefully you're still in frame. You don't really need to use anti-squeal. I'm using anti-squeal again. I said these are ceramic discs. I went and started putting the wrong one on the other side. That's why this one's blue, because you forget. That's why. good to remember these things. So anyway, oh god, I just got copper grease on that. Crap, I didn't see that on my finger. Back in 1 second. Got to get some brake cleaner and clean that off. That's not good. Okay, back. Clean gloves too, just so I don't get any more copper grease on anything. Pads cleaned off. I've got just a little bit of anti-squeal, brake anti-squeal on the back. That simply goes down and pushes into the piston. Come on. There we go. Where is the, there we go, outer pad. Tiny little bit of anti-squeal in here where it's going to contact metal. Tiny. Simply slip it over. Locked in. Ready to be done. Now take a look at the pads and you'll see this side doesn't have the notch. So that side's got the notch. I'm going to push the pins back on both sides. Put my finger in there. My finger's not small enough to get in between there. There we go. Okay, so the pins are back. Make sure you haven't kinked your line. Make sure your line is straight. So these two are the two with the notches. Slip it over the rotor. The notch side goes down first. Oops, get in there. And then simply, oops, the back one's not on. How are you not going on? Come on. There we go. Something's making this unhappy. Why is this not going on? Again, when I have issues, I show it. I don't hide issues or problems or weird things going on. I don't understand why that's not flipped over. It is flipped over. Oh. Haha. Top pin wasn't pushed in far enough. Nor is the bottom pin. We weren't quite far enough in. That was the whole problem. Now, slide the bottoms, there we go, and in. How's it like that? Now you simply slip the pin into, oh, I should have done this before but you can see the little hole in the top of the back, the rear pad. The little pin goes in the hole, and the little plastic thing goes into the groove. I'm going to put a little bit of dielectric grease on that so it slips in and out a little easier. You know what, actually I don't even need it, because next time I do these pads I'll be replacing it. So pop it in. Guess what we are? Done, other than putting these two pins in. So, because someone had put anti-seize on those pins, I'm going to clean these off with brake cleaner and put some blue Loctite on them. Never red. Red Loctite is evil. Red Loctite means you have to use a torch to take it off. The red Loctite will lock them on there almost permanently. Blue Loctite is what you want. Red is for like extreme crap. I've never even used red Loctite. Anyway, I am going to clean these off and be back in a sec. Okay, blue Loctite on the bolts after they've been cleaned off. Let's put you over here so you can see. Hope you can see. Can you see? Woo. The top. Anyway, blue Loctite. It's not paint. It's expensive as hell. So painting on more than you need is kind of useless, and it wastes a lot of money. So get these started by hand. Make sure they're threading in. And torque to about 22, 23 foot-pounds. I think that's about 30 Newton meters. And since these pads were so far out, like they were out, the pistons were so far out in their bores, we want to make sure this is a very quiet torque wrench. You can barely hear the click on it, so have to listen. Since the pistons were so far out in their bores, the brake fluid reservoir, we're going to have to check that to make sure, because it's probably going to need to have some sucked out of it. We'll check that in a second. I'm going to torque this one to 23 as well, and then we'll go check the brake fluid. Now, of course, you can't see that, because of course under the hood it's dark. It's a bright, beautiful sunny day, but under the hood, dark as hell. Brake fluid reservoir, it's just almost at the max. It was just down a little bit below that, so I do not have to remove any. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Putting the wheel back on, and lug nuts, and that's it. Nothing else to see here. Thank you for watching. If you want to take a nice look at the old pads, they're pretty bad. That's that rotor lip, and I'm not happy with putting new pads on old rotors, but they're like $20 centric ceramic pads. I don't care. I'll replace them in 6 months if I have to. But I'm going to order the rotors and redo those next time. Thank you for watching.